for Prairie Museum of Art and History, and my name is on this marquee in Lice. First time I've ever been in Lice. It's very cool. North of Ellsworth, we saw this huge wind farm off I-70, and the skies were very, very overcast. And we just thought the juxtaposition of the very, very old windmill and the very, very new windmill was quite interesting. And here you have some cattle to give kind of a scale of these monstrous things. Every one of these three sections here and every single 3 turbine has to be transported on one single semi-truck. So it takes at least 3 semi-loads for every single turbine. And this is a vast wind farm. Another picture, which I traditionally frame in a window frame. And the whole reason for the window frame came as an act of desperation because I couldn't find any frame big enough for this thing. And I had a window sash that I gotten from an abandoned house. And I put it in there. And the rest, as they say, is history. We found this one in an old abandoned community building in the middle of nowhere. And it said to me, "Take my picture, please." And anything that says, "Take my picture, please," has to have a picture taken. And this picture has been very, very good to me. I took these 3 pictures at the Museum of Telecommunications in Abilene, Kansas. This one is an old payphone, as you can see, quarter, dime, nickel. And you see the old bells here. And it says, "Do not deposit money until operator asks for it." And you hardly even see any of these payphones anymore. These are old insulators. And I love the lone blue one against these green insulators. And this one is called I'm Mr. Blue. These are the colors of communication. It took me forever to figure out a name for that. But the way I shot the picture was literally to lie flat on my back and shoot up into this display cabinet, which was full of these antique insulators. St. Joseph's Church in DeMar, Kansas. And this is their really wonderful altarpiece. All of the gold in the paintings is gold. This is the church in Pfeiffer, Kansas. And this is the spire of it. I think it is more beautiful than the more famous cathedral in Victoria, somewhat to the north. And I laid down on the sidewalk and shot this picture up with the beautiful clouds behind it. The picture is aspiring to heaven. This one is Heaven's Gate. And it is the mosaic right about here in this beautiful, beautiful church. And that's all gold as well. Unfortunately, the church is no longer an active congregation because Pfeiffer is so small, but it is still open. And it's called the Holy Ghost Catholic Church. This is called After the Harvest is Gone. This one is shot on the very edge of Kit Carson County, just inside Colorado. And I drove by my way home from Burlington and saw this beautiful, beautiful light in this beautiful field. And I got my workout that night, so I walked all over this field, shooting all over these pictures of these beautiful combine tracks in the sky. This one is in the Ness County Bank building. This is our second tour of the building. The first time we just looked at the exterior, and the second time they invited us back to come look at the interior. And this is just the window silhouetted against that beautiful cloud. This one is called Double Your Pleasure. I was at a rock yard in Culberson, Nebraska, taking pictures of the lovely rocks. But the real picture was behind the rock yard. These 2 horses were looking at me saying, "Take my picture, please." And so I did. This one is called Summer Pond. And it kind of shows the extent of water in northwest Kansas because this is all that's left of Smoky Gardens. This is a real lake. It's Hanging Lake in Linwood Canyon, Colorado. And it about killed me to get up there. Eric thought I was going to die by the time I got up there. And the picture of me taken before I shot this looks like I'm about to die. But it was worth it. However, I would never intend to make that climb again. This one was taken in Honey Island, Louisiana. We took a tour of it when we went down to visit my brother and his family in Slidell, Louisiana. And two tour boats, our tour boat went one way, the other tour boat went the other way, and we had this very fascinating wave pattern in here. And I love the play of light and shadow in the water. This is Whatever Floats Your Boat. Camping trip with our church, Southwest Nebraska near Imperial, at Linders Lake in Southwest Nebraska near Imperial. And this boat decided that it was going to be a bad boat and it was going to leave us. So there it is, sailing away.
Whatever floats your boat.
And later the owner had to swim after it. This one is called Rock and Bowl. It's taken in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. I couldn't get far enough back to get everything in the picture, but I think it worked out okay. I thought it looked just like a pop art poster.
Which we will see in a little bit.
This one is called Leaf on Ice. Same trip as this one here. This is in a rest area in Adair County, Iowa. And I love this picture because of the composition I was able to achieve. But when I matted it and framed it, I loved how the gaps in the ice showed up a lot more. I thought it was pretty much a monochrome picture until I saw these beautiful spots here. This is the Ice Castle, also in Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada. It is right across the street from the falls, and if the falls have a constant freezing mist coming off the water, and it coats it with ice, and you can just see there's just ice everywhere. And then there's this lovely reflection off that freezing mist, and beautiful, beautiful colors in here. And I thought about matting it with purple, but that just wasn't quite as good as the copper. This one is Don't Fire Until You See the Whites of Your Eyes. It's a Bunker Hill monument in Charlestown, Massachusetts. The statue is of Colonel Prescott, who built the fortifications and commanded the men at the Bunker Hill battle, actually fought on Breed's Hill. And he famously said, "Don't fire until you see the whites of their eyes." And this is at the very end of the Freedom Trail walk, and the sun is going down, leaving those beautiful, beautiful lights. Earlier on the Freedom Trail, it is called Paul Revere's Ride. Here's Paul Revere on his horse. Here's the Old North Church, one if by land, two if by sea. And supposedly, the sexton of the church who had hung those lanterns jumped out the window to escape the oncoming British. Actually, Revere never did complete the ride, but he was the rider immortalized in fame. This, of course, is the icon of America, Statue of Liberty.
I call it Our Lady of Perpetual Torch.
After Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic Church in Goodland. This is the Brooklyn Bridge and the Manhattan Bridge. The picture is called In Suspense because they are both suspension bridges. This is the Brooklyn Tower of the Brooklyn Bridge. Now it's called Brooklyn Bridge. Continuing our tour of the states, this is in Keystone, Colorado. I stood out there, this is one of the few film camera pictures here, and I just stood out there with my camera on the tripod, and I set it on auto and took these pictures of these reflections. This is called Under the Dome. We went to the Colorado State Capitol, fastest tour I've ever taken, and I'm frantically taking pictures while my husband is saying, "Hurry up." And I put on my fisheye lens, and I just shot the picture. And every time I look at it, I feel like it's almost a 3D look. Colorado spared no expense on their Capitol building. Extremely expensive. Extremely beautiful, too. Back in New York, this is on top of the rock, an Art Deco fence on the very top level of top of the rock. I think about 800 feet above the city. No, I'm not afraid of heights. And I wanted something a little different than most tourists would take, so I peered down through the fence, and there it is. I kind of think it looks like looking through an eye. You know, here's the pupil and here's the iris. And it's called Gotham City. This is Bird's Eye View. You see the tourists here. Again, it's about sunset. Beautiful light. And here is New York, spread out before us. This one is Ghosts of 9/11. We stood in the World Financial Center, which is across the street from the World Trade Center, now being rebuilt. And I had no idea what I was shooting. I was just shooting at the pictures of the Ground Zero. And when I started processing the films, I saw a ghost skyscraper right here.
Which is actually what, Roxie, though? A reflection of probably
A
off
reflection
another
of some
building.
other skyscraper, I have no idea which one.
But it's where they should have been, where
Yep,
one of
where
them
it
should have
should've
been.
This one is called New York State of Mind. Also shot on top of the rock. This is the Empire State Building. This is the Bank of America building. Over here is the Goldman Sachs building, which is the tallest building in New Jersey, and it is quite dwarfed by the ones on Manhattan Island. This little thing right here is Lady Liberty. This one we call Rhapsody in Blue. And this is the beautiful Chrysler building, and I wanted that MetLife building to go away because it messed up my view of the Chrysler building. When we tried to get back into the U.S. after Niagara Falls and the very cheesy attractions above it, the customs agent was very, very unfriendly and asked us a lot of questions. I was beginning to think that I was not going to get home again when he asked me, well, what did you see on your trip earlier? And I'm very, very tired and I can't think. And all of a sudden I thought, oh yeah, there was this rest area in Iowa and it was covered with ice. And he's got real friendly and let us in. This one is called Tulip's Heart. It was photographed the closest to home.
At home.
I just went out the back door and here were these tulips. This one has sold next to it, which is always good. And I could not have taken this picture without autofocus. I went out at some ungodly early hour in the morning on Labor Day '09, and I took my camera upside down and shot the picture of the sunflower. The previous picture got my ball cap, so you had ball cap here, sunflower here. Obviously, I didn't use a ball cap. I was walking around looking into old barns, regardless of the risk to my life and limbs of these rotten floors. And here was the red door. No, I did not Photoshop that. It's just like that. And it's still on the barn. The barn's fallen in, but it's still on the barn. I keep going by and looking at it and thinking, okay, if I ever see this falling off, I'm going to get you. And I'll frame the red door on the real thing. Same farmstead. Both of these are in Cheyenne County. This is called Haymow Highway. Just this barn ladder sitting next to there. I just loved how the parallel lines went. And of course, we have to have the obligatory Northwest Kansas tumbleweed.
But you didn't put it there, it was
I
there.
didn't put it there, it was just there. I always think moving things around is just kind of cheating. Red phone. Same trip as I took the horses on. I was driving down 34 at highway speeds. I saw the red phone. Did a Huey, came around and took this picture of Max, Nebraska. And of course, I made sure that the only thing that was in color was this and the rest is sepia. And this, I turned around and here was this lovely, lovely super unleaded peeling sign. And again, all sepia except for the blue sign. I love Photoshop. This is an antique frame and an antique doorknob. It's called Latch Nest. Thank you very much. And I took it at the Ness County Bank on our exterior tour. They spared no expense to put up this bank. It's made of beautiful limestone rocks. They use limestone in the mortar, so it looks like all of one piece carved out of limestone, and it pretty much does. And they have just beautiful, ornate Edwardian fixtures.